Welcome back. Well, a new report by the International Monetary Fund, as IMF, says the number of registered mobile money agent outlets per 1,000 kilometers square in Nigeria surged to the highest level in 6 years. The report showed that the number of outlets rose by 137.7% to 1,618 units in 2022 from 680 in 2021. And the number of registered mobile money accounts per 1,000 adults also increased to 225.9 from 191. Well, let's find out the drivers of this growth. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Obioha Oti, National Vice President, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, and CEO, Upswing Consulting and Training Limited. Great to have you on the show. Good morning. You might have to unmute.
Thank you so much,
Fantastic.
Ladi, for having me.
Fantastic. I can hear you perfectly well now. So we see the IMF report shows a big jump in mobile money outlets in Nigeria. Should we say business is going good for the mobile money agents, and we're solving that issue with banking the unbanked?
Not necessarily, but I have to do quite some explanations. I will not say that business is really going well for the mobile money agents, but the report from IMF actually is correct. It shows the situation of things in the country. For instance, a number of mobile money accounts and wallets have been on the increase for a while now, and the number of registered adults per thousand, just like in the report, has been on the increase. Then also the value of transactions with comparison to the GDP is also on the increase. But all that does not necessarily translate to the fact that mobile money agents and everybody involved in agency banking is making a lot of money. The truth about the matter is that there has been a lot of challenges within the system. Let me start with that of mobile money agents. For instance, if you notice, earlier this year in February, when there was a lot of cash crunch because of the issues associated with removing the old Naira and bringing in the new one. So a lot of mobile money agents were thrown out of business. Even recently, there has been reported cases of mobile money agents, particularly those from the northern part of the country. For instance, Kano State, Taraba State, and a few other northern states, especially those in the remote areas, complaining about cash challenges. And if you go to the CBN X, that is Twitter account, you will equally notice that reports like this exist. So there has been a lot of challenges within the mobile money space. However, the only way I can explain the report from IMF is that a lot of adults, especially in the township and even to some great extent in the rural areas, have acquired mobile devices. And you know that the proliferation of mobile devices everywhere in the country now gave rise to mobile transactions, and the Fintechs and even the traditional banking institutions are leveraging on it in order to drive financial inclusion. So that accounts for the number of mobile money wallets and accounts that are being created. Then in terms of mobile money agent locations as captured in the report, that may not necessarily be true. For instance, speaking from experience, I used to have over 100 locations myself, but because of the economic downturn in the country, I had to close down most of them. And in fact, as it is now, I have far less than 50% of what I used to have. And the same situation is the same for so many agents that I know. But the truth about the matter is that most of these fintechs and the traditional banks, they keep on churning out solutions. They keep on bringing devices. For instance, one agent, registered agent, can have in his location up to 5 devices or 6 devices from different organizations. And so this does not necessarily translate to the fact that the business is really growing based on the way IMF captured it.
All right, Dr. Oti, one question now. With the picture you've painted, right now, I'm sure there's some people that still want to get into this, mobile money agency business. So from your view, is it still a profitable business?
Yeah, I would not say it's not profitable because a lot of people are going into it. But, if you want to look at mobile money agents, you classify them in different ways. For instance, we have the merchants. Those merchants already have existing businesses. They are just supplementing it by the side with transactions relating to mobile money and agency banking. But we have core agent bankers who their only business is just doing the full business of agency banking. So these people are the people that are deeply rooted into it. Now, the people that are deeply rooted into it have a lot of challenges they are facing. For instance, I remember sometime in 2019, 2020, within the time of COVID, I used to have, as an aggregator, I used to have over 1,000 agents. And as at that time, if you give an agent 10,000 naira in order to solve liquidity problems, day-to-day liquidity problems, it becomes a very big amount of money. I want you to understand that most of these people you see doing mobile money transactions in different shops, some of them don't even have up to 50,000 naira as their capital to do business. So they are having cash challenges. And another truth about the matter is that apart from the challenges of liquidity, even when you have the value in your wallet or your account, to go to the bank, just like we have observed recently, some banks put limits to how much money you can get from different locations and all that. And if you check very well, discover that most of the agents don't even rely on financial institutions to access the cash they need for daily transactions. What they only do these days is to align with traders, to align with other people in order to, evacuate their cash on daily basis without actually going to the bank. Because most of the time you go to the bank, you spend a lot of time. Then again, some of the locations of these mobile money shops we are talking about are in very far places. I remember the locations I have in Ebonyi State. Sometimes you need to take over 1 hour before you get to the closest bank. I used to have an agent in Bayelsa State sometimes, though the shop unfortunately has closed. So he has to enter a boat to row for a distance of at least 2 kilometers before he will get to the closest place that he can access cash. So there are a lot of challenges for mobile money agents. And in fact, if you ask me,
right, so many challenges.
Yes,
definitely.
I want to suggest one or two things because I know there are a lot of things the government can do to actually help.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, now you and I know that the government is new and they have a lot of policies that they have put down on ground in order to help. And one of such policies I had is this conditional cash transfer, giving money to very poor homes in Nigeria and all that. It's a good idea. But I want to equally bring the attention of the government to the problems of agency banking. If you notice now, one of the easiest businesses people quickly go into these days is agency banking. Almost all over the street, you see agents, with their POS. And most of these people, they don't last 6 months, they will disappear. The only reason why they are able to go into it is because it's very easy to go into, and it doesn't really take much. And a lot of the fintechs and banks, they are all over the place, struggling to get dominance and get agents who will push their businesses for them. Now, since the government has seen that there are so many mobile money agents that are willing to do this business, there are a lot of things the government can do. Even the government said 8,000 naira per poor home for 6 months. Okay, now multiply 8 times, that's 24,000. I bet you, if you give a particular, most of these agents 50,000 naira as capital, or liquidity to run their business, because I have given 10,000, I have given 20,000 when I was running most of the locations at that time, but I've closed most of them down. This can really deepen, financial inclusion, and they equally help the GDP. Like if you notice the report from IMF, the growth of transactions per GDP is not nothing compared to the proliferation of the number of mobile money wallets and the number of adults per thousand, that has acquired mobile money accounts or mobile money wallets. That tells you that it is not really affecting the real sector of the economy. What will affect the real sector of the economy is that if entrepreneurs, people who have entrepreneurial spirit, are empowered to be able to drive whatever the business they are doing forward. If the government can give money to poor people to go to the market and just spend the money, and then that will be the end of it, it is not going to help the economy to grow. So I want the government to really look into this. I have had the opportunity to travel to some countries, particularly a country like Kenya. If you see how the government and the entire ecosystem of the agency banking have managed to drive their own financial inclusion. For instance, in Nigeria now, you notice that some of the agent banking activities you see in urban areas, in cities and all that, if you go to villages, it's not like that. Most of the villages are still backward in terms of financial inclusion. So if the government will channel some of these interventions, towards things like this, where it doesn't really need so much money to empower people as capital, it will really impact on the economy and drive things forward.
Right. A lot of industries looking for government intervention right now in the country, but we see there's a significant increase in the number of fintech companies in the country, with traditional banks also exploring, the fintech space. How is this contributing to the growth of, mobile money agents? Are there any risks with the reliance on fintechs? We've heard of stories where funds get trapped.
I think about 2 weeks ago, I was in CBN International Institute. So I was there. I was teaching them open banking and the CBDCs, particularly the e-Naira. And one of the topics we looked at there was whether the idea of open banking drives collaboration or drives competition among banks. And the answers that most of the students gave, you really marvel at it. The truth about the matter is that the proliferation of fintechs is a good thing for the economy, it's a good thing for the country, it's a good thing for the financial inclusion. You can agree with me that even the traditional banks have tried, most of them have tried to form a subsidiary of a fintech company in order to drive certain segment of their business that they cannot ordinarily drive. But there are a lot of challenges associated with it. For instance, recently, some of the agents I know, some of our agents, have had to be cash trapped liquidity-wise because they were not able to access their funds in some of the fintech companies that they are operating with. What happened? Some of these is attributable to fraud, some attributable to operational challenges and all that. So if you ask me, I would say the fintechs are trying, but so many of them are really biting more than they can chew, because some of them really don't have the capacity, because they know that the market is large, because they know that they can really do so much. They try to explore beyond their capacities. So that is a problem, and that's cause for attention, because the regulator, particularly CBN, needs to look in that direction. Because by the time you look at the market and you want to play far beyond your capacity, then there will be a lot of operational challenges and a lot of failure within the market.
Right, I guess play to your capacity. That's your advice to the fintech.
And again, in terms of the traditional banks with the fintechs, the challenge is that instead of collaborating, especially in areas where each of them have their strengths, and try to at least move the economy forward for mutual benefit, you notice that most of them are struggling among themselves, driving, kind of competing. So it is not really healthy for the economy. You and I know that where two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that usually suffers. And the grass in this particular instance include the agents and the customers who represent the last mile.
Right, right. Thank you for that, Dr. Oti. But another burning issue now is cash in circulation. I've heard some reports of customers not having access to, cash in some states, and some banks capping withdrawals at about 20,000 naira. Are any of your members experiencing this right now?
Definitely, definitely. Particularly, they're not like I told you. Even yesterday, I had to do some, snapshot research, and I discovered that most of those in the south are fine, but most of those in the north, especially in very, very rural locations, they are still struggling with cash. And the truth about the matter is that I've always said this thing: we shouldn't, at this time and age where everything has gone digital, we should not continue to be a cash-based economy. And most of the things still fall back to the government. For instance, during the time I was in a CBN training institute in Abuja, one of the things we're looking at is how we can use the e-naira to drive financial inclusion. For instance, if the federal government makes the idea of digital currencies, or mobile money transactions, that is cashless transactions, makes it appear profitable to those that drive financial inclusion, because the major people that drive financial inclusion is agents, and the major business that agents do is Kiko, that is cash in and cash out, and that is what gives them most of the money. Forget about some other added services that the banks talk about, opening account, this one, that, and most of those things don't really bring the cash to the agents, and the agents, they specify and they concentrate on the ones that give them money. So if the government can make some solutions like the e-naira and all that, and some digital platforms, make it profitable enough for agents, agents can drive it. And because almost everybody has mobile phone in his or her hand, so digital transactions will really replace a lot of cash-based transactions, and we gradually move away from that. Countries in Africa have done it so much. Look at countries like Kenya, look at countries like Rwanda. Most of these people have really gone far ahead of us as a country in terms of agency banking and the mobile money transactions. So we really need to look in that direction.
So in your view now, and with what you've been hearing from your members, do you see a cash crunch issue coming up again?
Anyway, I am aware that the Supreme Court gave a decision on the demonetization policy, but I don't know whether the implementation is going to happen. But if a deadline is given for withdrawal of the old currency anyway, sometimes we even wonder which one is the old or the new, because even the old currency now is, so it appears to be more in number and more in circulation than even the new one. So, but if there is any information like that, it is going to cause a sudden panic, and they definitely will experience a lot more cash crunch even than we experienced before.
Yeah, we definitely do not need that, because the first quarter was quite tough. But looking at the mobile money agency industry at this point, what are you seeing, going forward? Do you see more outlets, coming up? Do you see the business getting more profitable?
Yes, in Amban, for now, that's Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. One of the key things we are looking at is how to bring professionalism into the industry, and equally how to drive profitability for the members. So I see a lot more positivity coming in. I see the horizon getting better and better. The reason why I'm saying this thing is that recently the CIBN has launched agency banking certification project, which is going to help improve knowledge, because when knowledge is increased, a lot of positive things come along with it. Then again, I'm seeing a lot of touting within the business. What I mean by touting is sometimes you come across the road, you see people running across, running to vehicles, running like if they are hawking the POS, that kind of thing. That is not really good for the business. Because if you look at the CBN operational guideline for agency banking, nobody has to carry POS machine and be running across customers to do transactions. That is a no-no. So when most of these things are streamlined, then something about pricing. For instance, pricing is a big issue. Recently, this year, the association, part of our association, Lagos State, announced some certain issues about pricing, and it raised a lot of doors. Even at the point we even had to go to FCCPC, to address issues. So when most of these things are addressed properly, I believe that there is a lot of positives in future for the agency banking and mobile money business.
Thank you so much. We'll keep tracking that industry. It was great having your perspective, Dr. Obioha Oti, National Vice President, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Morning.
Thank you so much, Ladi.
Right, and talking about money. We have Will coming in now to tell us about more.